Alright y'all, so Super Vegito is officially in game for Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra and everyone is excited for this guy, so I decided to push out a guide for him today. He's pretty straightforward for the most part, so luckily it's not difficult to make a guide for this guy, but if there's any updates in the future, I will, be making multiple videos on Vegito and just showing off what he's able to do. In this video cover his divine combo cards, I cover the skill upgrade order, everything his skill does, things to keep in mind for matches, how his ultimate works, and just the best way to play Vegito and kind of use him. But again, it is still technically the first day, so I will be having other videos in the future come out where I try different builds with Vegito or different setups with Vegito. Like I'll have Vegito plus Kid Gohan. Seems like it could be a really powerful pairing, if not the best pairing in the game, with how much damage Vegito is able to do. And if you're wondering, Vegito will be available for free in 2 weeks when Super Saiyan Bardock does come out. So if you're not even able to get him right now, that's okay. You could still maybe try the game out if you want to and hit Star Collection level 31. Then in 2 weeks, you'll be able to get Vegito completely for free if you feel like, you are able to wait a little. So I appreciate y'all for watching and let's hop right in. All right, so starting things off, Vegito is able to transform from the start of battle at any time he wants to, just like kind of how he did in the series where he fused and then instantly went to Super Vegito. This guy does get lower XP from enemy NPCs, keep that in mind, but he will increase his level by 1 when he transforms, which I find to be a very useful tool. The fact that if you are pressured early on, you're able to make a little bit more of a riskier play, and if you need to, you could just transform. Just get out of jail free card, push enemies off you, you'll restore HP, you'll get an attack increase. It's just like a super nice thing to have in your back pocket no matter what kind of is going on in the fight. You could also save it for later on in case, again, we know later on levels will get harder and harder to, increase, especially with him having lower XP. So maybe you could save it for like a transformation from level 7 to 8 to get level 2 ults, things like that, right? But I think having this just like on hand is super useful and I am a big fan of it. Actually, I think that they did this pretty well. Next, we have his passive skill. So his passive skill is a self-strengthening ability. He will do extra energy damage and gains extra HP when skills or powered up attacks hit 2 or more enemies at the same time. The more enemies that he actually hits, the more extra HP he will also gain. The cooldown for this ability is also shortened if skills or powered up attacks do hit an enemy. So the more enemies that are hit, the greater the reduction to its cooldown. So this passive is really based around everything with Vegito's skills, right? Just basically spam your skills, you'll get extra HP if you're hitting multiple enemies, which is mostly seen with his skill 1. However, you could definitely also see this with his super attack as well. I think those are the two biggest kind of situations you're going to see Vegito's like passive skill come into effect with the extra HP. And of course, as long as those skills or powered up attacks, which we'll get to later, hit an enemy, this cooldown on his passive skill is shortened. You're able to see this on the bar that's right under his HP. Once it's filled up, you actually do go ahead and get these skills as long as you're hitting multiple enemies. So this also does apply to his rush attacks, which we'll get into right now. So a physical attack, the third attack is a powered up energy AoE attack, which we see right here. It is a little slash. This does activate Vegito's passive. So at the third hit of his rush attacks, he will get the extra HP as long as he's hitting multiple enemies. I find this to be pretty useful, honestly, early on especially. And if you have superstar games, this could be very nice just with skill 1. I think that overall, these 3 things are not like too crazy, but they're very good at the same time. So I really am a huge fan of how they designed Vegito's passive and kind of everything with this kit just coming together pretty perfectly. So from here, we'll go ahead and go into the skills and training mode and show you how each of them look like. All right, so from here, we're going to show off skill 1 and what skill 1's able to do. So skill 1 is the Spirit Sword. You use a sword to slash at the area around him. Shortens cooldown if it does hit an enemy. And if you hit an enemy hero, it further shortens the cooldown. You can combine it with Flash Dodge to activate while it's moving. So again, we could see the different ranges for the skill right here. So we see this is level 1. This is level 2. And then this is level 3 / level super for the Spirit Sword. Again, it's a very dramatic increase in terms of the range that this guy's able to have. And this is really important because, again, it can help very easily activate his passive, which not only kind of has its reduction shortens when you hit multiple enemies, which will again then allow you to get extra HP and extra energy damage. It'll also, again, just be a shortened cooldown when you're hitting an enemy hero as well. So again, we can actually show the difference here between hitting an enemy hero and not. So we see here, we're going to hit this NPC. Has a very slight cooldown reduction. It looks like a 0.1 second. Nothing really too crazy. Then we can go ahead and show us hitting an enemy hero, and we see right here it's closer to 0.3 seconds. It's not the craziest thing ever, especially since you're going to be hitting enemy heroes with it regardless, but it is nice to have, I guess, right? We'll always definitely take a slight cooldown reduction, but realistically it's basically you could think of this skill more as 4.7 second cooldown if you're fighting enemy heroes rather than a full 5-second cooldown, which it already isn't really long in the first place. So this is the move that you're going to be pretty much using most of the time. When it comes to Super Vegito specifically, I do like it quite a bit. And again, they do also state you are able to use it with Flash Dodge to activate whilst moving specifically, which is really good. And again, just to show you guys the HP increase that you can get when it comes to having the bar filled up. Again, this is going to be most prominent with skill 1. We'll have Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta attack me. After this guy does transform, of course. We'll bring him over here. And again, we could see when we attack multiple enemies, the bar is filled up. And then, guess what, right here? When we have the third hit, it does fill up the bar even more. And then now we have the bar fully filled up again. And once we do hit multiple enemies once more, well, I didn't fill up my energy that time, or my HP that time, but again, when this is activated, it does give us extra energy damage, which is really, really important. So keep that in mind when it comes to Vegito, and how this ability does work. Again, we see the extra HP and energy damage there. Really, really important. So if you want to hit multiple enemies as much as possible, kind of group them together, this skill 1 is going to be great at doing that. All right, so next we could talk about skill 2 for Vegito. This is the Flash Dodge. It's pretty straightforward. There's not as much to talk about with skill 1 because it doesn't really work with the passive as well. So this is a physical attack. It will track the targeted enemy and attacks while you dash through them. You could re-enter the command to reactivate the skill. Then if you target a previously untargeted enemy hero during reactivation, that reactivation count and period will increase. From what I'm understanding, it's the next time you will have that available. Essentially, you use the skill once, you're able to use it again in a period of time. Then after it goes on cooldown, then the next time you use the skill, if you hit another enemy hero, which let's say you're attacking Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, then you go ahead and dash against another Super Vegito. That will increase that time for the reactivation period, which is nice. So we're able to see, again, here's the level 1 range, here's the level 2 range, and then here's level 3 / super range. It's nice at level 1 or 2, right? You could use it to catch enemies early on, but look at this. This is like half your screen, basically, that you're able to just reach in with Vegito, which is really funny. Now we see the reactivation countdown is about 7 to 8 seconds. I think it's closer to 7.5 or so. And the cooldown for this skill is about 11 seconds, maybe a little higher, right? The little 0.5 or whatever it is. I can't really see the exact number. Yeah, it is 11.7 actually, I believe. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, that this is a lengthy cooldown and you want to use it smartly, right? You don't want to kind of just use this whenever. You want to make sure that you use this at the right opportunity. Ideally, though, you can just use this to either chase down an enemy and secure them, or when you're just diving in. I think it is useful for both of those situations. You can also use this as an escapage, but you have to have a farm available or another enemy hero. So it is situational, but it's like Ultimate Gohan essentially, where Ultimate Gohan is able to use his skill too and basically switch places with farm. You're able to do this with Vegito and dash towards them. Unlike Ultimate Gohan, though, you can't go over walls because this is not a warp, this is a dash. So do keep that in mind. Now, finally, you're also able to combine this with skill 1, and this essentially will allow you to dash while using the Spirit Sword, which is really funny. This isn't the skill 1 description, but we're just going to include it here in skill 2 since this is mostly, about skill 2 and you have to use it here. So we see that you're just dashing while using the Spirit Sword. It's very, very funny. You could even do it twice before the reactivation kind of count does end. So that's pretty cool, honestly, that you're able to combine the two of these skills. But again, skill 2 is very basic. I think it's very fun and very cool at the same time. I'm a big fan of it, but a lot of it is going to be based around, just making sure you use it properly and time it properly. So keep that in mind. All right, so we have skill 3, which is the finger shot / scatter shot. You are able to lock into nearby enemies and fire explosive energy blasts. This does apply movement speed down to enemies that are hit by the explosions. You also could use flash dodge whilst locking on to move mid lock on. You could fire the energy blast if the command is re-entered after a certain amount of time has passed. If re-entered during flash dodge, the enemy blast will be fired after moving. And then if you re-entered whilst no targets have been locked onto, the skill will actually be cancelled. Just to show off the different ranges here, this is level 1. I actually have to re-click it. This is level 2, and then this is level 3 for the range. So again, we see there's no enemies here. If I re-enter it, it does cancel the skill, but doesn't do anything. You obviously want an enemy to be in range while you're using this, so do keep that in mind. You can't just get the skill back. Now, right here, we're able to see what happens when we just let it activate itself. It will just go ahead and target onto Vegeta. You're able to also just use your skill to cancel it and lock on instantly, essentially. So, for example, Vegeta's already locked on for the set from right to go. If you re-enter the command, it will go ahead and just shoot right at him. So we see, again, he was already locked onto. We could also use the skill even from behind, and it's already locked onto Vegeta as well, as long as he's within the range, and it'll aim directly at the closest enemy hero there. So that's cool, right? It doesn't really do a lot of damage. The movement speed debuff is nice, right? But it's nothing really majorly crazy, honestly. You are also able to, again, use this with skill 2 and move in. So we could actually show that right here. We have this, then we just move around whilst we're using that, which is very funny. Then again, if you actually re-enter this during flash dodge, the energy blast will be fired after moving. So there's a lot of like moving pieces when it comes to this, but essentially if you use this skill and then this and that. Okay, no, I did it right. Again, you want to re-enter the skill whilst using flash dodge, and it'll be shot out whilst moving, which is it's a bit weird. I think the timing I have a little off for it, but that's what the skill says. So either way, this skill is nothing really special. I think it's just like okay, right? It's whatever. The debuff is cool, but it doesn't really last for a very long time anyways. It has a decent range, but I mean, I'm sure you could already tell this is probably the skill you're not going to be focusing on in comparison to the other two. All right, now we could finally go ahead and get to Super Vegito's ultimate, which is the Spirit Excalibur, the Dokkan battle reference, which is really funny. You're able to cut a cross-shaped slash at a set position. After the attack, he will get powered up, which will not only increase the speed of his rush attacks, but his skill cooldowns will all instantly end / shorten, basically. While he's powered up, skills, which exclude super attacks, my bad, and powered up attacks will fill an intensity gauge. If this gauge is fully filled, he actually is able to use a super attack a second time. The gauge will gradually deplete over time, and power-ups are removed when the gauge reaches 0 or is not filled to the maximum amount after a set amount of time is passed. So we could see here, this is the skill at level 1, skill level 2, and then the skill level 3/super. The range itself isn't really too crazy. Now, one thing I do want to point out when it comes to the skill is you want to make sure you go ahead and hit the enemies in the center, or at least your main target, which sounds a little funny, but keep in mind, since it does have the ability to hit the enemy from like even one of these sides, this is only going to have one of the slashes hit the enemy. So we can go ahead and do this. We see the damage isn't really anything too crazy, and it has a 100-second cooldown. So again, if you mess this up, it will take a very long time for you to go ahead and get the super attack back. We could turn on the kind of quick super attack cooldown just to show you guys the example here. But again, if we compare it to using the skill and just hitting him head on, it does over double the amount of damage. So really do keep that in mind. And we see in the bottom here is the intensity gauge. That is going to be really important. So I'm going to show you guys an example of like how a Vegito kind of super attack turn may look like. We're going to turn on the attacking for the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. This is going to chase me down, and I'm going to bring him up here to this Gekishin so that we're able to attack multiple enemies at once. But let's show this right here. We could use a skill. We could reactivate this skill, and then now I could use a super attack. Again, I want to try and hit him in the middle. Right here, we see the gauge is now fully built up from using a couple of skills, and the bar is slowly moving down. But now I could just use my ult a second time, and Vegeta is dead. That is with the 4-level difference, by the way. Keep in mind how, like, what I'm missing from, like, a Vegito like this. I could have Snowball, I could have, you know, a bunch of other different attack, like, you know, a Divine Draw, or I almost said Divine Draw, Divine Combo cards here, and Vegito could do a lot of extra damage there. If you know what you're doing with him, and you're just keeping in mind of where all your enemies are, and you're targeting properly, Vegito is able to do so much damage when you use his super attack. It's actually insane. And again, you really want to make sure you're aiming the enemy in the middle of Vegito's super attack. It's very important so that they're hit by both of these slashes, and you will get the most amount of damage dealt to them, which is not like the craziest amount, but the fact that you're able to get all of his skills back, and it just all plays into each other so well. I mean, even this alone, just by attacking Vegeta by himself, we're getting all of this extra skill damage up right here. Now, it's harder to activate the super attack another time after this. You're basically not going to be able to do that. But by keeping the intensifying kind of gauge meter up, you do actually allow yourself to end up doing more and more damage over time. I mean, here, this is like with Snowball specifically, we're able to see this activate again. Let's use this. Super attack again, and then again, it is so stupid the amount of damage you're able to do with Vegito on this kind of turn like this. Like, look how much damage I did to this guy, and I'm not even done attacking him. Look at that. He just, obviously, this is tank Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta without any, like, you know, defense build up or anything, to be fair, but he has multiple levels on me, and Vegeta only had one Snowball right there, and I basically got well over 50% of his HP there. So this ultimate is kind of like the biggest part of Vegito's kit realistically, where this is where you just kind of throw your skills out and just do a lot of damage and kill someone, right? Or multiple people. Really crazy. And even then, it could still hit multiple enemies, which will increase the energy damage he does with the skills after the fact, and give him extra HP during all that when he's hitting multiple enemies. So Vegito is able to do some really crazy things on that ultimate turn. He's able to just eliminate anyone he wants to if you know what you're doing. So, and again, imagine a character who has a lot less HP than Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. If you're making sure you're aiming properly, you just eviscerate them. So in terms of leveling up his skills, you want to firstly make sure you always focus on the ultimate. The ultimate is going to, again, be one of the strongest abilities this guy has, if not just the strongest. Like, what his ultimate is able to do is just really, really crazy. And having the extra range to make sure you hit them in there is nice. And again, it's not very common for you to see your ultimate anyways, so I would personally focus on getting the ultimate maxed out whenever it's possible. Then in terms of his skill 1, 2, and 3, you want to make sure you max skill 1 out first. Skill 1 just again is going to be what you're going to be using most often. It just has the widest range. It just does so much for Vegito and his kit. Then I would max skill 2 after that just because of its mobility, and it's able to do just like a bunch of different things and it's fun. Skill 3 is just kind of whatever. I think it's just like there. It's nice. It's like a little bit of extra damage, but it's not really doing anything for Vegito's kit necessarily. It just kind of its own thing. The movement speed down is like decent, but it's not like anything too crazy where it's like, oh yeah, you know, skill 3. Thank God I won because of using skill 3 specifically. Like, that's not gonna be what happens, I feel like. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, so that's my personal order for leveling up these different skills that he has. All right, so we could talk about this guy's divine combo cards as well. I think it is pretty straightforward for him, which is nice, right? You would think that buildup would be good, but keep in mind it did get nerfed. So whilst Vegito has a decent amount of HP here, buildup just not being that great, along with Vegito just being able to just shoot out a ton of damage anyways and get extra health, you don't need this anymore for a lot of these DPS. You don't run buildup at this point. It is just such a... It's way worse than it was in Season 2, which is very unfortunate. I mean, it's arguably not as good as it was in Season 1 as well, which is unfortunate on top of that. So for his first combo card, I would definitely go Snowball. Snowball stacks are not that hard to get with this guy since he is like the team fighter character. This guy is able to do quite a bit. For the second card, Solid Barrier, I'm not as much of a fan of it as I was before. And I've actually seen, you know, a lot of players, like top players as well, use Giant Slayer for this guy. I haven't done too much testing with this myself, but I did talk with Slightly Annie, if you guys know Slightly Annie, one of the winners of the EU tournament. And they told me it was like, you know, Giant Slayers are really good for this Vegito just because I think it's just a good DPS card in general. If you're going to pick one of these two DPS cards, you definitely want to go Giant Slayer. This could be, again, really good when you're fighting Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta especially. I like what this character is able to do with Giant Slayer. If you really wanted to go defensive card, I mean, you could run one of these two, but I feel like you definitely take Giant Slayer. Then for his third skill, or his third card, this is where you do take defense step in my opinion. Defense step did get, I don't think it was I forgot, something was changed about defense step specifically within this patch where again, it's always been really good, keep that in mind. Let me actually double check when it comes to defense step. Yeah, they added an additional cooldown of 4 seconds, which is not the end of the world honestly, because of the fact that that's only going to be a thing you would not see in the divine draw for the extra vanishing steps. But besides that, this is not going to be a thing that you're going to be worried about when it comes to the 4-second cooldown. And it does work like the exact same damage reduction amount as Solid Barrier. So I think this is what you're probably going for with Vegito. Now, if you want, you're also able to go full red card and just kind of rely on a lot of damage. But again, this will make you very squishy. And I feel like a lot of characters right now are a lot squishier because we're no longer in a build-up kind of meta. And I feel like a lot of it is like damage based. You would like that defensive utility in your back pocket. Having that extra damage reduction is just such a huge ability, and it lasts for 3 entire seconds. So you're able to even see the countdown of when it ends. And again, that's pretty massive. So Vegito could definitely use that because it also may be a little bit of an issue for Vegito to get out of very certain situations. But again, that is all dependent on like positioning, things like that as well. If you want to be silly, you can go Pursuer, right? Because it will boost your damage by using whenever you use multiple skills, and it is energy damage specifically. And guess what? Vegito's skill 1 and his ultimate are both energy damage, and he will definitely be using a lot of skills here to activate Pursuer, especially when you get the ultimate up a second time, and you just end up doing a lot of damage there. So that's cool, right? You know, if you really want to just have a silly little fun game, you're like in B rank, A rank or something. If you're like obviously mega farming for a high rank and you want to be serious though, I would go defense step. That's just me though. But yeah, that's pretty straightforward with at least his first 2 cards. I think the 3rd card you have a little more flexibility with what you select. You could technically go backstab or limit breaking jump as well, but I wouldn't go out of my way to choose them after testing. Limit breaking jump is always decent, but it's not as like, I feel like since solid barrier is nerfed, you really do prioritize defense up with this guy. That's kind of how the cookie crumbles at the end of the day. So that's all there is to talk about when it comes to his divine cards. And that is everything to talk about with Super Vegito. And again, this guy is super fun. He's just incredible to use. Let me know what you guys are thinking about him. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate y'all for watching. I hope this guy did help you out in some way or form. And catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.